Good morning. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning for an Aladtec webinar going through kind of the system use of Aladtec for EMS organizations. My name is Mariah Bolden. I am a system specialist here at Aladtec, and I've put together a bit of a demo to walk you through today. A couple of quick slides to go over what our plan is for today. With today, we'll do about a 45-minute walkthrough of the Aladtec system. During that, we're going to take a look at some of the information with the member database, take a look at the schedules, look at our forms feature that's available, and dig into the reports and some other features that we have as well. We also will have a Q&A, so if there is any questions that you come up with going through today's webinar, please feel free to post them into that questions section we have available there as well. One of my coworkers is going to be taking a look at those as we go through, answering them, and then saving a few of them for the end for us to answer as a group as well. If there is anything you want to make sure we touch on or do have questions on, please go ahead and hit play on that information as well. So put any information you need into that question section and we can get that tackled as is needed. I'll go ahead and get started right now with that overview of the Aladtec system. And from there, I'll click right into the system that we have set up for today. All right, this system here is the one that's been built out for today's webinar, and I'll go ahead and start with this page that we're looking at right now, which is going to be the home page of the Aladtec system. Every Aladtec system is going to have two main parts to the home page, including the dashboard on the right-hand side, and that center section that's kind of a virtual bulletin board for the system as well. Any set of information that you would like to post for your team to be able to see in that center section is going to be able to be done by administrators within your system. For an administrator to update that information to include policy reminders, birthdays, anything else that needs to be visible, they'll be able to hover over Home and select the option for the Home Page Editor. The home page editor is going to be a Word style table where you're going to be able to define everything that needs to be seen on the home page of your system. And of course, as I noted earlier, the ability to modify the information showing up on that home page will be able to be done by administrators as you define within your system. The dashboard on the right-hand side is going to be a bit different because that's actually going to be the information that's relevant to whoever's logged into the system. Right now, I'm glancing at the information within the system from an administrative point of view, so I'm able to see any trades, signups, or time off requests that need to be processed right here as well. Past that, if you are on the schedule, any of your own upcoming shifts are going to show for you. And if you do choose to track any licenses or certifications within your Aladtec system, you'll be able to see anything that's expired or expiring shortly, as well as any events that you have added onto the calendar. This information will change depending on who's logged into the system and the permissions of the logged in member. Any users who are logged into the system as administrators can see the admin task, but if a user is not labeled as an administrator within your system, the information that they see is going to be relevant to them and their own permissions. So they won't see those requests that need to be processed, but they will see their own upcoming shifts, and general users will also see their own information that's expired or expiring within the system, but just the details that are relevant specifically to them. The next page to pull up to within the Aladtec system here is going to be the member database, which can be accessed just by clicking Members up at the top of the screen. From here, you'll see all of your users' names listed on the left-hand side of the screen, and then there will be columns of information that you're welcome to track for users as well. On the home page, we saw there were some users with expired information and some users with information expiring shortly. That's also going to be very evident when you're looking at the information here within the member database. Anything expired will show up in a red font, and expiring shortly will be in this maroon type font as well. These columns of information are definitely not the only details that can be tracked within your system, and all of the fields are going to be customizable to the information that's important to your specific organization. Clicking the drop-down list here in the top right-hand corner of the screen, I can see some of the other options that are available. You can pull in home addresses, emergency contact information, immunization records, certifications, and licenses. Anything that you want to have tracked and have on file for your team members can easily be pulled in here to the member database as well. We do understand that any information that you pull into this system, we want to make sure you have full access to pull out of the system as well. So all of the details that are visible here in the member database will also have the option in the top right-hand corner of the screen to get a print-friendly view of the information or to get an export of that as a CSV file, and that'll open up for you in Excel, Google Sheets, OneDrive, wherever you might need to process that information. The next page to pull up to here is going to be an individual's profile to show you how all of these fields will tie into one user rather than seeing everything for everyone at once. For that, I'm going to go ahead and open up Carlos's profile here by hovering over their name and selecting the option to edit member. Right here, I'll be able to see the information for first name, last name, username, and password, but I really do want to discuss the information on the right-hand side here for access level. These access levels are how you're going to be able to define who has permission to make what changes within your Aladtec system. This system that we're looking at for the purpose of today is going to have 3 levels of permissions. The 2 very basics are the top level administrator and member. Top level administrator is going to have the ability to change everything and anything within the system. The home page, the member database, schedules, form, reports, they'll have access to everything. Whereas the member is going to be kind of the opposite. The member will have the very basic permissions within the system. The ability to log in, see their upcoming shifts, request trades, request time off. But of course, those will be processes that all need to be approved by an administrator within your system as well. Past those 2 very basic levels of permissions, you can have as many different sets of permissions as you need within your system. So for example, this one also has an additional scheduler level added in that's going to be defined out with permissions for the individuals to be able to update the schedule and maybe make some other changes within the system, but not give them permission to change everything within the system. Every organization can have as many different sets of permissions as you need. If you have 40 different rules for your organization, 40 different access levels can even be defined out to fit all of the roles that are appropriate. Our system communicates with messaging, mainly by text message and email. That information is all going to be able to be defined within an individual's My Info page, and then the options for notification types that a user can choose are going to be listed right down below. Organizations that might have part-time members or volunteers really do tend to like the options for the upcoming shift reminders here on the right-hand side. That's going to allow those users who might not necessarily have consistent shifts to get a text and or email at 24 hours before the start of their shift with that quick reminder of where they need to be and when they need to be there as well. Users can also choose to get notifications by email and or text, letting them know if their request for time off has been approved or denied, or if they've signed up for a shift, they can get an alert if their sign up has been approved or denied as well. Users are going to have the ability to receive notifications for information that's specific to their own schedule. And of course, administrators within the system, such as Carlos here, who has that scheduler level, is going to be able to choose to receive notifications if users are submitting requests that he would need to process. Past that, you'll have the list of qualifications for your organization as well. All of the schedules and positions that are listed here are going to be modifiable and customizable for every single organization to match the rules that you need. The checkboxes are going to ensure that users are only working positions and schedules that they're qualified for. So, for example, if Carlos was not qualified to work as a medic or paramedic, unchecking these 2 boxes and selecting Save up at the top of the page is going to ensure that Carlos cannot trade into these positions, cannot accidentally be placed into these positions, and is not going to be stuck getting a notification for any open shifts that are related to that position as well. So it'll ensure that only the proper users are filling the spots that they're qualified for on the schedule. Everything past work qualifications in the system is going to be completely and totally customizable by hovering over Members at the top of the page and selecting the option for the Member Database Configurator. The information here is set up with a very simple drag and drop system. So if you do need to add in a field so you can attach an image or a PDF of an individual state ID, you can just choose the option for attachment over here on the left-hand side of the screen, click and hold on that, drag and drop it wherever it needs to be, retitle it as you see fit, and as soon as you hit save down at the bottom of the page, that field will be available to have a file attached to it for each individual's profile. The member database is going to be that central area where you can store the information for all of the users within your system, quickly see that, export it out of the system, and make modifications as you see fit. The next page that we're going to pull over to today is going to be the schedules. Clicking schedules up at the top of the page is right away going to pull me over to a monthly calendar view, showing me everything happening at the organization for a full month's worth of time. I do want to make sure to note that this monthly view is not the only view of the system that you're going to be stuck using. There's a ton of different views of the system. As we can see up here in the top right-hand corner, there's going to be 7 different views you can take a look at. Some of the other favorite views are the daily summary view, and that's going to give you a quick glance of what's happening on any given day within your system here. And another favorite is the weekly shifts view to see a week's worth of information rather than just one specific day. Every single organization is going to be able to pick and choose the information that's important for them to see for their own specific organization. And of course, all of these views are also going to have an edit option available in the top right-hand corner, just to the left of those calendar options. Clicking on that is going to allow you to narrow down the information that you're seeing when you look at the schedule. So maybe you're taking a look at the schedule, you have a task to complete, but it's only related to the ALS and BLS truck. You can check just those 2 boxes, hit apply, and your view and the information that you're seeing on the calendar is going to narrow down to just those 2 specific trucks. Every single user in your organization is going to be able to log in and pick and choose what they're seeing for the current task they need to complete, and modifying your own view is not going to change what anybody else at your organization is seeing as well. There's obviously quite a few colors and labels showing up on this page, and I want to make sure to dig into those. But before doing so, I want to talk about another view of the system, and this is the one that's going to be the most important to those general users of your organization. For that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up to the point of view of Clifford here and see the schedule as Clifford would. We do currently have this system defined that Clifford's able to see the overall calendar view, and of course their own shifts are going to be highlighted for them in yellow. Some organizations prefer that users are not able to see the overall view and that users can only see their own upcoming shifts, or they do want users to see the overall view, but they don't want them to see who's on time off. Whatever rules you may have in regards to that will be able to be defined out within the system here as well. But like I said, even though users have access to this overall calendar view, we find that they tend to spend the majority of their time on this My Schedule page when you hover over the Schedules tab at the top, because it's where general users are going to be able to see everything related to their own upcoming shifts on the calendar. They're going to be able to see all of their own upcoming shifts showing up there in blue. They can see if availability is accurate for your organization, any availability that they submitted, and they can also submit additional availability right from here. Users can also click on their own upcoming shifts, and from there, they have the ability to request trades and request time off. The Aladtec system does allow for 2 different types of trades to be defined out within your system. We have the options for both giveaways and for swaps. Giveaways are going to be a completely open-ended trade where someone maybe is not able to work their shift that day and is hoping to send it out for anybody to fill with no specific payback date defined. Whereas swaps is going to be shift for shift. You give me this shift, I give you that shift, and both ends of that are figured out before it goes over to an administrator for approval. Of course, rules can be added into that. So if your organization requires that users swap for the same position, or maybe they need to have the shift paid back within the same pay period, all of that is going to be able to be defined out for the swap. And depending on the rules with your team there, both or either of these options can be turned off as is needed. If you do want to see the specifics for how trades would work with your rules in your organization, please feel free to reach out to us to see a custom demo of your information put into our system here. Back over to the options that are available on the My Schedule page for those general users. They're also able to click on their upcoming shifts and request time off. Users are going to be able to adjust the dates and times that they are requesting for, choose the type from a custom list that'll be able to be defined for the types of time off your organization has available. And when the type is selected, the users can even put in notes and information for the administrators to see when they go to decide if they're going to approve or deny that submitted request. When a user requests time off, it's going to show up for them in orange here, but it'll have a green A, letting us know that it's pending the pending the approval of an administrator within your system. And they're also still going to show as responsible for working their upcoming shift until that time off is approved by an admin within the system as well. Once an administrator approves that time off, that blue upcoming shift will disappear and we'll no longer be seeing that pending A because the user will have had that time off approved and assigned to their schedule. Users can also use the option on the left-hand side here to toggle on open shifts and see any of the open positions that they're qualified to fill on the schedule. Anything showing up here in purple is telling me that it's something I'm qualified to fill and able to pick up. Any of the red exclamation points are letting us know that the schedule is below minimum staffing levels for that day and time. So a user has the ability to choose what shifts they're taking, depending on the needs of your organization and the staffing needs that are available at that point as well. Once again, when users click and sign up for that shift, because this system does require administrative approval, we get that green A telling us that yes, you requested to sign up for that shift, but it is pending the approval of an administrator within the system. All of the functions that we're seeing from this page are going to be fully accessible from the mobile version of the system as well. So Clifford's going to be able to pull up from their cell phone, select that they want to see their My Schedule page, and from here they can complete all of those same tasks. They can click on their upcoming shifts, request trades, request time off. They can also hit View Options at the top to take a look at any of the open shifts and request to sign up to fill those open shifts right from here as well. Back over on that My Schedule page, there's also going to be that plus sign showing up in the top right-hand corner of the page. So if a user does need to submit their availability, that can be done right from their cell phone, tablet, wherever they are, no problems which network they're on either. If you do allow the permissions to be there, the users are also going to be able to pull up to the daily summary view where they can see who's working on any given day. And once again, on that daily summary view, a user's name is going to be highlighted for them in yellow if they are going to be working that day, so they can quickly and easily point out their own shifts on the calendar as well. Back over to the full site here, I want to pull back over to the administrative view of the system to take a look at the schedule and go over some of those colors and labels that maybe we didn't necessarily touch on looking at Clifford's schedule. Any trades that are showing up on your calendar are going to show up in green, letting you know who's working for who and the time frame that was traded. You're also going to be able to see these green arrows next to a user shift, so you'll be able to easily point out who's working that day due to a trade rather than a normal shift that they have on the calendar. Any time off on your schedule is going to show up there in orange with the user's name, the type of time off, and the time frame that they're gone as well. As we discussed over on Clifford's page, that red exclamation point is going to show up on any day that falls below your minimum staffing level. Within our system here, the minimum staffing level can be defined to a certain number of people that need to be scheduled at any given time. but you can also assign any other roles you need. So for example, if you always need one person on with a valid hazmat certification, that can be added into your minimum staffing levels on top of the numbers of people you need there as well. So any requirements you have are going to be accounted for. You'll see that some days on our calendar here have this little yellow post-it note showing up like we're seeing on the 19th. That post-it note is letting us know that there's a quick reminder that was added to that day by an administrator within the system. In this case, the note is saying that there's new equipment arriving today, so it is just a quick reminder to the team to keep an eye out for that. Those notes can be added to any shift and any day by hovering over the schedule and selecting the option to add notes. From there, any message or information that's needed can be typed in by an administrator, and as soon as you hit save, that note is going to be visible from every view of the system that you can see the schedule in. Any open positions on your calendar are going to show up in purple with the position title rather than a user's name and the time frame highlighted in purple as well. If users have requested to sign up to fill those open positions on the calendar, those are also going to show down below in purple, once again with that green A telling us that it's pending the approval of an administrator within the system. This organization is set up that it does require admin approval on those signups, but if you do have an organization that runs with first come, first serve, that can also be defined so the requirement for approval can be turned off for your organization depending on the rules you need. I also want to make sure to note this blue envelope showing up at the top of any days on the schedule that have an open position available. That's letting me know that there's an open spot that we can send out an alert saying that we need coverage. So let's say that I approve this time off that's requested and pending showing up on the 25th. When I select the option to approve that time off by clicking on the request, the user is going to be pulled out of that paramedic position that they were qualified for on the calendar. It's going to show up in purple, and I'll get my blue envelope telling me that I can send out an alert for coverage. Clicking on that blue envelope, there's going to be a couple of ways that you're able to send out that coverage alert. The first option is going to be to select that open position on the left-hand side and to simply hit send on the right. The reason for that is because this tool in the middle here is going to take a look at that information in the member database, and it'll send a pre-populated email and text message with all the shift information and how to sign up to all of the users in the member database who are listed as qualified to work on that ALS track and who are marked as qualified to fill that paramedic position. It's also going to, by default, exclude any members who are already scheduled to work and exclude any members who are listed on time off. Those members, of course, can be included by checking those boxes in the middle, but by default, it's going to make sure to keep those users out. Once you hit send, all of those users are going to receive that text message and email simultaneously, and they can log into the system and request to fill that open position where you'll get these pending signups. The other option that's going to be available when you send out that alert saying that you need coverage is to use this drop-down list on the right-hand side to choose a defined rotational overtime list that's created within your system. Those lists can be set up to be done by who's last taken an overtime shift, who was last offered a shift, who's the most senior, who has the fewest hours, or any other criteria that you might want to define out within your system. To make sure that your specific rules are going to work within our system and to see exactly how that's going to work with the rotational overtime list, please feel free to reach out. We can set up that free custom demo for you and make sure that the information is going to fit in exactly how you need it to. You can choose for that to rotate through the list. In this case, I have it set up by number of hours and by seniority within the system. And you can even get a preview of who that's going to send out to first and the order it's going to send in based on that criteria that's defined. It's also going to track who receives the notification at what time, and you can define the frequency and intervals that these are sent out. For example, if you want each individual to have an hour to accept or deny the shift before it goes to the next user, that can be defined out within the system as well. So once those alerts are sent out and people have signed up requesting to fill the shift, if you do choose the option to send it out to everybody at once, you might get something showing up like we see here with all those pending requests. The system is automatically going to show those signups in the order of first come, first serve. So I know here that Cameron signed up before Carmen, who signed up before Leslie. However, if you do choose to pull in different criteria, maybe seniority or the number of hours that an individual worked, I'd recommend taking a look at this information from the hourly editor view of the system, because that's where you can see these details and make any other day-to-day changes you might need within your system as well. To get to the hourly editor, you can either hover over schedules at the top of the page and select hourly editor, or if there's a specific date and schedule you want to modify, you can hover over that date and schedule and select the option to edit schedule from there. Right here, I see the open paramedic positions showing up in white, and down below I can see those two individuals who requested to fill that position on the calendar. To pull in details to decide who's going to receive that shift, I'm able to click Edit up here in the top right-hand corner of the screen. I can say that I want to see how many hours they have for the specific month, and I can even use the checkbox down here to say I want to pull in their date hired to see the information related to seniority as well. Once I hit Apply, I'm going to be able to see those details showing up next to the user's names. In this case, I can see that Aladtec webinar user has the fewest hours and is the most senior member. I can click on that sign up, select the option to approve, and a couple of things are going to happen at that point. Number one, our minimum staffing alert is going to go away from all views of the system. We'll see it's no longer showing up here in the hourly editor. Aladtec webinar has been placed onto that position on the schedule, and you'll see both of those pending signups have disappeared as well. The top user who received that position, they'll get an alert by text and or email letting them know that they did receive that shift. And the user who did not receive that shift is going to get an alert letting them know that as well, so that nobody's going to be stuck sitting and wondering if they did or didn't get that shift. They'll immediately be notified. So all of those things are going to take place and automatically save at the same time. And of course, any other changes you need to do to that specific day can be done right from this page as well. I can click Edit up in the top right-hand corner and choose to pull in additional trucks right here as well. Once I hit Apply, all of those selected vehicles are going to show up here, and I can make any changes I need. So maybe we run into a bit of a hiccup, and Heather actually ends up calling out sick, and I need to pull Heather off of the calendar. As an administrator from the hourly editor page, I can hover over the three lines to the left-hand side of that shift and submit time off on behalf of the user. It'll automatically default to the time of the shift, but you can also choose that type from the drop-down list and select the option to approve. Once that's approved, we have that open position showing up on the calendar. I can send out that alert right from here saying that I need coverage, or I can make other adjustments as is needed. Maybe Crystal said that they would be more than happy to cover and fill that position on the calendar. I can actually hover over Crystal's shift here, that 12-hour shift, grab that purple arrow to the left-hand side, click, hold, and drag to extend that shift time for the individual as well. Or I can also shorten a user's shift, doing the exact same thing with the arrow on the right-hand side, making the adjustments that are needed. And then maybe Carlos or Leslie here said that they're more than happy to cover the end of that shift. I can even click on Leslie's name down at the bottom, click and hold, and drag and drop that user into that open position. Any changes that you make here are immediately going to update all calendar views and even change the number of hours that are showing up in that total for individuals below as well. This page here, if you do a custom demo of our system seeing your information, is definitely the one where all the day-to-day changes take place, and the best one to play around with to get a good feel for the system as well. The next feature that we wanted to make sure to take a look at within this Aladtec system is going to be the Forms section, pulling us away from the Schedules view. Under Forms here, we do have a few different examples tossed in for the purpose of today's call. These systems can be set up with forms anywhere as simple as a uniform and gear request, to something more complex like an ambulance mechanical or a drug box check. All of these forms, as you can tell, clicking from page to page, are going to have completely customizable fields available. You'll be able to set them up with number fields, checkboxes, multiple selects, short answer, long answer, attachments, signatures. Any type of field you can think of should be able to be built into the system here using our form configurator. The form configurator shows up here in the top right-hand corner when you pull into any form section within the system. To make modifications to this specific form, I can select the option to edit form configuration, and I'm going to get a view pretty similar to what we were seeing in that member database configurator as well. So let's say for this ambulance mechanical, we want to use that attachment field again. We want users to be able to attach an image of any damage to the vehicle. I can once again choose attachment on the left-hand side of the screen, click and hold on that, drag and drop that wherever it might need to be, and set it up so that as the users are walking around with their cell phone, tablet, filling this form out, they're going to be able to quickly snap a photo with that device and attach it directly to this form as well. You can also set up notification routing within the system. So if you want yourself or another individual to receive an alert every single time fuel is marked as 1/4 tank, I can click this pencil here on the right-hand side of the field and say that I want to add a notification for specific users or specific groups to receive an alert every time this form is submitted with that specific field marked. Or if it is a field that you want an alert every single time there's an issue that pops up, you can actually select the option for settings up at the top right-hand corner of the configurator here and say that you want an alert to go out every time the form is submitted, no matter what fields are marked within the system as well. Our system does come pre-stocked with a bunch of different sample forms that you are more than welcome to take a look at. Everything from work order vehicle report forms, weekly AED reports, pre-planned checklists, any types of forms that you can think of. You can get a starting jumping point from the samples we have built out, or if you'd like, you can start from scratch, design a new form, and get that built in. If you choose to do a free custom demo of the Aladtec system, you're actually more than welcome to send over a form that you would like to see within that system to take a look at how that might be within your Aladtec system, and we'd be happy to help you out getting that built. Every single form within the system here is going to show you all of the submitted forms on the left-hand side of the screen with that specific form pulled up. And clicking on any of those is going to allow you to see the details, the day and time that it was submitted. The day, time, and who submitted it is automatically captured by the system, so you don't have to worry about somebody forgetting to put in the time. It'll be automatically tracked. You can also set it up that changes can be made to the form after the information is submitted, and you'll be able to see if somebody goes in and makes a modification to a form that's already been submitted. Every single change that takes place is going to be fully tracked and date and time stamped within your system as well. If you'd rather see multiple submissions rather than a single submission within the system, you're able to pull up to the reports for whichever form you might need to see. So if I pull up to the report for the ambulance mechanical, I'm going to be able to see all of the submissions, which for this specific system is 2. You can choose the time frame that you want to see submissions for and even use the edit option up at the top of the page to add any filters you need. So if you have 40 submissions, but you really only need to see the ones that were submitted by Carmen, you can say here that you only want to see the ones submitted by Carmen Christensen, hit apply, and have your view narrowed down to just those specific submissions within the system. You also have the ability to export any of this information that you need from the system into a CSV file type so that that information can be opened in Excel, Google Sheets, or emailed wherever it needs to be as well. There's additional options for reports within our system, and today I really want to make sure to touch on the option called the Scheduled Time Report. The Scheduled Time Report is going to be able to show you the information that shows up on the calendar for any given time frame. So if I was to pull over to January of 2021, I'll be able to see all of the details and all of the shifts listed with that specific time. I can click edit up at the top of the page here and even say that I want to see the information in a subtotaled format, and maybe I don't want to see the details related to training. I can make sure that that box is unchecked. Once you hit apply, those details are going to show, giving you a subtotal for each individual. You can have information broken out by weekend, weekday, non-overtime, just by clicking edit and making the changes to the information that you need to see within this report. It's going to track the day, time start, time stop, the schedule position, and if you have a specific label associated with an individual shift, that information is going to show up in that time type column as well. Once again, we want to make sure you can pull this out of the system, so it is going to be printable as well as exportable as that CSV file type. Another option to note under the report section of the system is the system log. This is a virtual audit trail that's going to track anything and everything that ever happens within your Aladtec system. Anything from one of your users logging in, requesting a trade, realizing that maybe they accidentally requested the wrong day, then canceling that request and submitting the correct day. Every action is going to be fully tracked, date and time stamped, and even annotate the user who made that submission as well, so you'll always be able to look back and see who made what changes within your system when. We do have a storage section available within the system here, and that's going to be 200 gigabytes of storage space that you're able to pull in any and all documentation, videos, photos that you want to be available for your organization. A lot of organizations choose to put in a folder for SOPs, for training, for emergency plans, and all of these can even have subfolders listed beneath them for different types of videos and documents for training, different types of emergency plans. And as you can see by that restricted label showing up under emergency plans, you do have the ability to pick and choose who has access to which folders of information within your system as well. Another feature to make sure to mention within our system is actually back under the Home tab here. We have an option within the system that's called Required Messages. That's a bit different than the other messaging options available within our system. This one actually stays completely and totally internal, so it does not go out by text message or email. When you create one of these messages, whether it be that there is a new SOP or maybe you need somebody to call you before they start their shift, you can type in the details you need in the title, and then as long of a message as you need down below. There's not going to be a character limit associated with that. You can choose if you want that to go to specific groups or certain individuals. I'll keep picking on Carlos here. Once you hit save, the system's going to continue to work like normal for you as the administrator, but whenever that user logs in from any device or any location, no matter where they are, that message is going to be the very first thing that they see when they log into that system. And they can click on anything that they would like, but they're actually not going to be allowed to leave this page until they mark that they agreed that they read and understood that message. Once they mark that and hit continue, they can use the system like normal, and you as the administrator are going to have that peace of mind that that user marked that they read and understood the specific information you sent over to them at the date and time it was sent over. Once again, this information will be able to be exported out of the system. So if you do need proof of the date and time that every member at your organization read a specific new SOP, that information can be included in one of these messages, and you can export those details for when that was marked as read and understood by each individual. We do have a very robust help section under the Help tab at the top of the page here. From there, we have videos and documentation on how to do basically everything you could ever want to do within the Aladtec system, and we're constantly working to update this information and make sure it's accurate for the new features that are being added within our system as well. However, a lot of people taking a look at the system might not necessarily want to see all of the videos that are related. Maybe you want to speak with someone to get assistance as well. We have a wonderful support team, and you can contact them by hovering over help and clicking contact us. We're available with a phone number that brings directly to our support team, and whoever answers that phone is going to be able to help you out with questions. That support crew is also available for email support and online chat support for all customers. So whatever the most convenient way is for you to get assistance within the system, we'll be able to help you out. That's everything that I had for all of the big features available within the system today, but let's take a look at a couple of questions that came through as well. Let's see. All right, so Jay Todd sent over a message asking what kind of changes they can do on their side, or asking if they need to reach out to us for assist with changes in the system. Like I was saying just a couple of minutes ago, our job is to help you out with the system. However, we understand that sometimes you want to be able to make those changes on your own. If that's the case, we make sure that you have all of the features you need on your side as a top-level administrator within the system to tackle those changes. Top-level administrators are going to be able to click the name of the department in the top left-hand corner of the screen here and select the option for setup. From here, they're going to have the tools to make changes they need. So if you need to add in a type of time off, you're able to do so on your own. Or maybe you want to define a new permission set under access levels, you have the full ability to tackle this on your own. Although, once again, our job is to be here to help you out with your Aladtec system. Okay, next question. Can I say what shift is working which day? Yes, so if you do have a rotational shifts, people are working through each position on the calendar or working through ABC shift, first, second, third platoon, that can definitely be defined out on the calendar. If I click up here in the top left-hand corner of the screen and pull over to setup again, you'll see on the left-hand side, we have the option for shift labels. This is going to allow you to define who works which day, and it'll be visible from all views of the system. So if we want those shift labels turned on, maybe Friday the 1st was A shift, I can say that that day was A shift, define a color that was associated with it, and even continue from there. So then I have B shift, which we'll say was blue. And then I can even say that C shift was on the 3rd with red, and it's going to continue to rotate that way. So this is giving me a preview of what those labels might look like. And even as soon as I have that information added in the setup section, looking at the schedules, I'm right away going to be able to see those labels associated with every day within the system as well. All right, I got a quick question. Can I use Aladtec on my phone? Yes, no problem. So we did take a quick look at the information for the mobile version earlier on the My Schedule page, but even administrators are going to have full access to that mobile version as well. Administrators will, of course, be able to see any trades they can pick up, open shifts, upcoming shifts, but they'll also be able to tackle administrative tasks. You can approve trades, approve signups, approve time off. If you need to grab somebody's emergency contact information, you can easily quickly and pull into the member database from your mobile version and see the details associated with any user that you need right from here as well. You'll also be able back on that full site, or I'm sorry, on the mobile version to see that daily summary and can even send out those alerts for coverage and see what shift is on which day now that we added those labels in. Okay, perfect. Back to the full site. One final question. George is wondering how much this is going to cost. The cost information is going to be available to be provided by our account representative, so please feel free to reach out to us and we'll definitely be able to help you out with information related to cost. If you would like to see that free webinar, you would like to get information on cost, whatever it might be there, please feel free to reach out. We're going to be available, of course. You can pull up to that aladtec.com website there or that number at the bottom, 888-749-5550. Whoever answers the phone there is going to be able to direct you in the correct location as well. We do have a bunch of handouts listed over in that GoToWebinar section there. A couple of handouts discussing how Aladtec has helped other organizations and how they might be able to help you out as well. Thank you all so much for joining in today. I'm more than happy to help out with any questions you might have. Just call over, let us know, and we can help you out. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you.